9 seasons coaching the Cowboys, Dolphins, Hall of Fame. I've learned more football from Jimmy Johnson than just about anybody I've ever known. He's now joining me live. Well, one of my rules in this job, Jimmy, I don't like to question play calling. I don't know. I didn't look at tape like you coaches. I don't know. You could have injuries that you can't run plays. You've spent so much time. But I do think the Matt LaFleur kicking a field goal, Joy and I talked about this earlier. Boy, if I got Aaron Rodgers there, hell, even if I didn't make it, Jimmy, I'd still pin Tampa deep, and I'd probably get the ball back. I didn't like the call. Your thoughts?
Yeah, our whole crew talked about that right when it happened. When he was lining up for the field goal, I'm saying, why? Go ahead. You got to try to get the touchdown and try to get the 2-point play. And if it's not successful, they're going to be backed up. Rather than take the field goal, kick off, they get good field position. They've got time. I said, you're never going to get the ball back. So I did not like the call at all. I think it was the wrong call.
So, it's one of these things. Green Bay, for whatever reasons, they play differently with a lead. They're not as good trailing. And I thought when Tampa came in the first drive, Jimmy, and took a lead, I just thought my mood changed. I said, we got a game here. I thought Tampa hit. Tampa was really physical. They were pounding the ball. Did you sense early that, this could be trouble for Green Bay?
Yeah, I knew Todd Bowles' defense was going to give Aaron Rodgers some problems. They really came on strong, really played well defensively, put a lot of pressure on him, rushing the passer. They did it the first time they played. And, of course, yesterday, they sacked him a bunch of times. So I knew that defense was going to be a problem for him. I thought that Green Bay might be able to pull it out, and had the defensive back and Mike Pettin not played the wrong coverage and the wrong technique right before the half, I think Green Bay would have still pulled it out.
Yeah. What do you make of that? So many of these big games, Jimmy, and you've been in these, it doesn't matter if it's you at Miami and Notre Dame, they come down to a play or a moment. With that touchdown that was surrendered at the end of the half, is that a player issue? I'm just shocked that it happened. Who's responsible for that?
Well, I like Mike Pettin. He's been down here in the Keys. We spent some time together talking football, one thing or another. I think he's a good football coach. But he played basically a one-free defense, a man coverage. But the defensive back, regardless if he had been in man coverage or zone coverage, he was playing too tight. He should have been backed off. Personally, I would have been in a 3-deep zone coverage and in having, taken away the outside routes. That would have taken away all the deep throws, and it would have taken the outside routes. So it was the wrong call coverage-wise, and it was the wrong technique by the defensive back. Just a horrible play, letting him get behind him.
There's 4 different times, Jimmy Johnson joining us, that you coach Troy Aikman, Tom Brady, Aikman. They're leaders beyond just being good quarterbacks. 4 different times that Tom has either been somewhere and left or not been somewhere and arrived. And in 4 different times, he averages 7 wins he's worth to a team. And listen, we know a lot of it's he's talented. But, you sense this with Aikman. Take me behind the scenes for an Aikman to be able to change the culture. Tampa's been this is a losing organization, Jimmy, for as long as I can remember. Take me behind what you think Tom did or what you saw Troy do in Dallas.
Well, I think the number one thing, he brought a championship discipline to their team. You look at Tampa Bay, the last year or two, they were a sloppy team. They had a bunch of penalties, a lot of turnovers. With Brady in there, and I think it really kind of turned around in the Chicago game, the 5th game of the season. They lose by 1 point. Brady just goes crazy. I think their center had a unnecessary roughness penalty. Brady goes to the sideline. He's screaming and hollering. And from that time on, the very next week, they had 0 offensive penalties, and they beat Green Bay 38-10. But you look at the season, the season before in 2019, they had 41 turnovers, I think it was. last year, this year they had 18 turnovers. Less than half of them. Penalty-wise, they cut it down by about 40 penalties. So they were really a disciplined football team. Besides him being a good player, he brought discipline to that team.
Listen, Kansas City, if I said to you, which team would you rather have, Kansas City or Tampa? Now, as I say that, most people would say Kansas City. But now they're missing Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz. And now I think the strength of Tampa's team is their defensive front. And I do look at it and I think, boy, this feels a little bit like how the Giants beat that 18-0 Patriots, where Tom just didn't have time to get his feet under him. When you compare these rosters with those two offensive line losses, are these rosters closer than we think in terms of talent, Jimmy?
Yeah, I think it's close. Like you say, losing Fisher is going to be a problem because Tampa plays such good defense. They have some outstanding pass rushers. Barrett's going to be an outstanding rusher over there from that edge. I think the Tampa defense will give them some problems, and you never can tell. You're liable to get in that ball game, and your Kansas City's liable to struggle running the football because Tampa plays good run defense. They start rushing the passer. Kansas City gets behind. They drop a couple of passes, one thing or another. I think it's going to be a heck of a ball game, and I think without question, Tampa's got a great shot.
Yeah. Jimmy Johnson joining us, the Hall of Famer. I was saying to you during the break, just the effortlessness of Kansas City's offense. They play so joyful, and it just seems so easy. And go back to even your coaching days at Miami or the Cowboys. Was there a season or a point where you could call anything, Jimmy? You didn't care where the field position was, the score, that you just felt like if we call the play right, our guys are better than their guys. Like, we have better players.
Yeah. My days at the University of Miami, it just really depended on who we were playing, Colin. About 7 or 8 of those teams, I could have thrown a dart at the play call sheet, and every play would have been good. It really wouldn't have made any difference because we were just so much more talented, than who we were playing. Now, there were 3 or 4 games we had to make sure that we were prepared and we didn't turn it over, et cetera, et cetera. But in college football, there's such a disparity in the talent level for the great teams and the average teams. And professional football, it's a different story. Even in our run at Dallas, as good as we were, we had to play well every week or we're going to have a problem.
Yeah. Were you surprised at all that Kansas City sort of dominated Buffalo, 38-6 run? Were you surprised by the kind of the gap in closeness?
I think, they went on cruise control there for about a month and a half. But they knew getting ready for Buffalo, they were going to have to play well. Buffalo was hot and as hot as any team in the league. And so I think they really were thoroughly prepared. That they knew what they were up against. And so they were playing their A game against Buffalo.
Final question. You've been to these Super Bowls. Do you implement your game plan this week? What do you do this week before Super Bowl week?
Well, what we always did, first of all, my first Super Bowl, we had 2 weeks. And so you put in the majority of the game plan, all the fundamental plays, but you don't want the players to get bored. And so you save a little bit of it for the second week. And then the second week you make some change-ups. Our particular situation, we were playing, Buffalo with a no-huddle offense, and they had just run up and down the field on everybody because people weren't prepared for the no-huddle. We ran 2 units against our defense for that first week, and we had them exhausted after the first week. But then we pulled back the second week, but we did add some things, just to keep their interest up. You don't want them to get bored that second week, and you don't want to peak too early. Yeah.
Jimmy, it's a pleasure. Fox Sports NFL analyst, the Hall of Famer. Great seeing you. And are you going to go out fishing today or tomorrow?
I think I'm going to go in the morning. We've got a chance to maybe catch a wahoo or 2 or maybe go get a mahi. I know I can always catch some small tuna. But I'll head out fishing in the morning.
All right. Well, we appreciate it. Grab a Heineken, have one for me, too. I'd love to join you someday out there, Jimmy. Thanks.
All right, Colin, you're always welcome down here.
All right, Jimmy Johnson. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.